Hey YouTube friends, Ben Ochart here. Let's talk about sumps and the lies that float around about them. There are a lot of misconceptions about these things. Let's talk about them here. And then I want you to share your ideas about sumps in the comments below. And if you have any questions about them, ask them. Any bright ideas about them, share them. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Myth number one, too complicated. I certainly had this going on in my head. I had a lot of misinformation and misconceptions about what was involved in a sump. As soon as I realized that they're just really like a canister. Water's coming in, it's moving through filters and media, and then it's being moved back to the tank. It really is that simple. The water in this case, with gravity, is being pushed through some cotton media, through some floss, through some biological media, through some chambers and sponges, and ultimately moves through the chambers and is moved back up to the tank with the use of a pump. Not that different really from the pump that you'll find inside of a canister or a hang-on back filter. The difference, of course, is by using a sump, you can put a lot more media, probably 10 times the media that you can put in a canister or a hang-on back filter. And because of the water volume of the sump, what this does is it waters down or dilutes the parts per million of the things that we don't want to have too much of in our tanks. And so the overall water quality can't help but get better, as you can see reflected here in the fish, which ultimately is the biggest advantage of the sump, is that it provides a better quality environment for the fish. Myth number two is they're too expensive. I always had the idea that to get into a sump system, certainly a system like this one, I would have to be shelling out a tremendous amount of money. But what if I told you that this sump, all three chambers, and the pump was all part of a deal that I found on Craigslist. That deal included the sump, the pump, a brand new stand, and the aquarium and canopy. The entire package was $400. Myth number four, too noisy. Well, I certainly had that idea. Let's check it out. This tank is in my bedroom, so it had to be quiet. I even installed a Durso standpipe, so I quieted down the overflow box, which can be a little bit noisy. I talk about it in a video. I'll include the link below. I also use acrylic sheets to help cover up, and those also reduce the noise. They also help to control some of the evaporation, which can be a problem. And by the time you close the canopy, you really have an aquarium that is acceptable and quiet. Myth number five, the one I hear mentioned most often, that it will flood your house. This one is the one that kept me up at night. The first night I had installed the sump, I actually didn't sleep much. I kept waiting to hear splashing. I kept expecting to step on the floor and feel water when I got out of bed. I turned off the pump to test it, and after putting in the right amount of water, I discovered that the sump did not flood.
with the pump off. I even shut off the pipe to the sump and continued running the pump, and the aquarium didn't flood. It didn't overflow. So it's really just a matter of getting the right amount of water into the system, and it then became next to impossible to have a flood. Of course, there's always the idea of siphoning water back into the sump, but that's what these types of devices are for, including drilling a hole in the return to break a siphon, and that way you never really have to worry about a sump overflowing and getting water all over the floor, and I can sleep at night. Myth number 6, you will have 0 nitrates if you use a sump. That's just not true. You're still going to have to do all the steps that are required in proper fish keeping, including water changes, gravel vacuuming, and all the other maintenance that's expected to keep good, healthy fish.
So there you have it. And make no mistake about it, I too had a lot of misinformation about sumps. And it made getting this sump behind me going particularly difficult because I just was operating off of misinformation and wrong information and fears and considerations that were actually not based on fact. So there you have it. Share your ideas, your thoughts below. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I or someone in this great community of fish keepers will be chiming in, I'm sure. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. You are appreciated.